guys, it's really nice to see you. So my name is Alice, her name is Masha.
Hello.
And we also have two beautiful ladies. So our today online excursion is going to be about Samara, but we don't want to tell you like boring and not interesting information. No, we're going to tell you some interesting facts and to show you interesting places, interesting people, and so on. It will be really a pleasure for us to tell you more about our lovely city, Samara.
Also, dear friends, you can see Lada. She also preparing you something interesting information, and you will see fragments of excursion with the professional guide Helen. And we would like to tell you that you will have opportunity to write question in our WhatsApp chat, in our YouTube comment. Please be active, because your question could make our stream better and interesting. So thank you very much, and now I think it's good time to start. So 3, 2, 1, go!
Good afternoon, dear friends. My name is Helen, and today I am honored to introduce my local city of Samara to you. Today I'll tell you some facts about the history of our city, about the role it plays nowadays in our today's life of our country. And during our excursion, we'll have some pauses, and if any questions, of course, you are welcome, and I'll answer them with great pleasure. So, we start our excursion in Glory Square. After the victory in World War II, our people decided that they should have a separate square to celebrate such great event. And in the middle of it, you can see a very tall monument holding wings above his head. It is a symbol of the aircraft industry of our city. During World War II, the input of that industry was really great in the victory in that war. The worker is holding wings above his head. Aircraft industry. And after World War II, aircraft industry was the start for space industry in our country also. In this square, as it is Glory Square, there is also a flame, some kind of a tradition in our country to put a flame in squares to commemorate all those people who were killed during different wars. This flame is a really unique place. People come here to commemorate our great parents, our grandparents, because the role which that war, I mean World War II, played in the history of our country, it was really the hardest time in our history. And when we are talking about that war, about Great World War II in Russia, we call it Great Patriotic War, it must be said that every family, not only in Russia, but in any republic of the former Soviet Union, in Georgia, in Belarus, in Ukraine, in any other republic, and also, of course, in Russia, every family has relatives, has grandparents, has great-grandparents who took part in that war and who were wounded or killed during that war. So the flame is the place where people come to commemorate their relatives. Besides, our young couples, on their wedding day, there is some kind of a tradition. After they sign all the documents, they start their so-called wedding tour around the city. And during that tour, the first place they go to is to put flowers near the flame, again to commemorate our relatives. Behind the flame, there is a face of a woman as a symbol of our motherland who sent her sons to the war. About 600,000 people from our Samara region went to the war as soldiers. Practically a half of them did not come back. So that war was really the hardest time in our history. And of course, we mustn't forget about that period. We must tell our children, we must tell younger generations about that period, about the horrible part any war plays in our life. Behind the flame, you can see golden domes of the cathedral. It is an Orthodox cathedral of George the Victorious. George the Victorious is in our Orthodox religion, is the patron saint of all the soldiers. So as it is Glory Square, you can see that cathedral in this square. But it must be said that it is a modern cathedral, during the Soviet period of our history, unfortunately, uh, during the Soviet period, the party was against any religion. And during that period, practically all the Orthodox churches and cathedrals of our region, of our city, were destroyed. And all the churches we can see nowadays in the streets of Samara, practically all of them are modern ones. But there are also some historic ones too. Okay, now we can come inside the cathedral, or we can come closer and to appreciate a perfect view over the Volga River. The Volga River is the longest river of Europe. It is the largest river, the longest river of our country, of the Russian Federation. And of course, the Volga influences the life of our city very much. Samara was founded as a wooden fortress to protect the boundaries of Russia in a place where the river Samara, which gave the name to the fortress, flows into the Volga River. On the banks of the Volga River, Samara rapidly turned into a great trade center as it stood on a cross of two main trade routes. The first one, a water route along the Volga River, and the second one, a land route from Asia to Europe, a so-called Silk Route. Due to its geographical position, Samara rapidly grew, and nowadays it is one of the largest cities of our country. The Volga River is really very beautiful near Samara. We are really lucky to have sand beaches along the embankment. So if you come to Samara in summer, you will have a great opportunity to appreciate a new saying which is used to be said in our city, that Samara is a resort, not only an industrial center of Russia, but also a great place to spend your holidays. The waters of the Volga River, the temperature of the waters of the Volga River in summer comes up to 20, 22, or even 24 degrees above zero. So quite a pleasant temperature to swim and bathe in the Volga River. In winter, when the temperature of the air goes down up to 15, 20, or sometimes even 25 or 28 minus, of course, the Volga River is frozen, and you can even walk along the ice to the other bank of the Volga River. On the other bank of the Volga River, there is also a very unique place, our natural resort, our national park, Samarskaya Luka. The nature of the Zhiguli Mountains, maybe they look like hills. They are not very tall, but we proudly call them mountains because if you go to the other bank of the Volga River, you'll see that they look like real mountains. And originally, when they were formed, about, let me see, so the mountains were formed about 1 million or even 10 million years ago, when a part of the ground went up. So the Zhiguli Mountains, they are not of volcanic origin, they are of tectonical origin. So when the Zhiguli Mountains were formed, they were up to 1,000 meters high. But on the top of them, there were mostly sands and clays. Time passed, and that ground went down to the bottom of the mountains. Besides, our mountains, they're made of limestone. It's a very weak natural material like chalk. So it suffers from erosion, from the winds, from the water, from the rains very much. And today, the highest peak of the Zhiguli Mountains is only 351 meters above the sea level, but still we call them mountains. It's like a small model of the mountain chain in the of our region. It is really unique as during the Ice Age, the ice did not reach the Zhiguli Mountains. It stopped only 100 kilometers from the mountain chain. And today, in the Zhiguli Mountains, on the one hand, you can see the plants which were typical to the pre-Ice Age. But on the other hand, northern winds from the ice brought there the seeds of the northern plants. And today, just on the two neighborhood slopes, you can see plants from the Crimea, for example, from the Caucasus, the southern parts of our country, and at the same time, from Siberia, from the northern parts of our country. Due to such unique natural combination of plants and trees, different species of plants and trees, all the territory of the Zhiguli Mountains today, it is a national park, a natural reserve, but you can go there, you can take a boat and go to the other bank of the Volga River and appreciate the nature of the Zhiguli Mountains. Now we've come closer to the Cathedral of St. George, an Orthodox cathedral. It was constructed in a classical architectural style, typical to the Orthodox churches, to the Orthodox cathedrals. It's a very beautiful place, a very beautiful building. It's one of the largest cathedrals of our city. Orthodox religion.
Hello there again. I'm very pleased to welcome you here again. So, as you still remember, my name is Lada, and we continue our excursion and we start to talk about religion. And now we're located at the St. George's Cathedral. So soon there will be a video. And there you can find that there is a couple and they have their marriage. You can see what is inside the Orthodox Church, Christian Orthodox Church, and you can see the bride. She's standing in an absolutely magnificent, fascinating white dress, and the groom. So there is a special, actually, tradition that some of the couples during their wedding, they would like to have a kind of, a religion wedding. So there will be a union that will be registered like on the sky. So that's why some of the wedding couples, they would like to go to the cathedrals or to church, and the priest, he just like saying them and wish all the good wedding life and so on. So here on the top you can see that there is plenty of icons and pictures of saints. Yes, there's also candles on the chandelier. And there is probably one of the main cathedrals of Samara city and Samara's region in general. You can see the pics of saints of Jesus Christ, yes, and other saints of Russian Orthodox Church. You can see that the priest put on the crown on the head of the groom. So it means that the wedding event is about to start soon, and he is about to put on the crown also on the head of bride. Yes, you can see that we are Russian Orthodox. We crossed like this from the top to the down, from the right shoulder to the left shoulder. We do it like that. And there is a tradition. Actually, it's a kind of interesting event when you're just standing inside, and you see that also that all girls that are standing inside the church, they have to wear scarves. So it means that all of their shoulders and the head, they had to be covered by any kind of scarves, and moreover, the skirt should hide all of your knees. So it could be like until your feet. So it means that you will be allowed to go inside to any church or Orthodox cathedral. So yes, so they are just praying, and the priest is saying a kind of praying. He prays this couple. Yes, and you see that they are standing actually on the kind of special carpet. So they're singing. It's a kind of choir. So that's it. Still just a view of the church, and then we will continue talking about religion in general, about Christian, Orthodox. So there are plenty of people in Russia. It's like more than 70% of Russians, they are religion, and their religion is Russian Orthodox. So they are Christians. So we are at least 70% of Russians, they are Christians. So we are about to end up with this video, and we will a little bit go out from the church and start our excursion. So the first point was the Glory Square, and our amazing guide, Helen, she told you many interesting facts about the Glory Square. It's also one of the main squares of Samara's region and Samara city as well. And here you can see a spectacular view that is fully open to you when you're just standing on the top of the hill. So this is St. George Cathedral during the winter time. So what do we know about St. George Cathedral? As I told you, it's one of the main cathedrals of Samara's region. This is the Russian Byzantine style, and it was built in honor of the 2000th anniversary of the baptism of Russia and the 55th anniversary of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. You know, the Second World War, but we are mainly proud of the Great Patriotic War. So it was from 1941 till 1945. So the church is dedicated to St. George the Conqueror, as you can see. So that's what you can find inside the St. George. You already see it in this video. So in the Russian Orthodox Church, St. George is depicted as a warrior of the Lord God sitting on a white horse and striking a terrible serpent with a spear. And for Russians, it's like a kind of symbol of the victory. So the church has 3 levels: the lower, the middle, and the up. And the temple has the statues. You can see it on the pics. Yes, it has the statues of a monument. So continue talking about the religion and Russian Orthodox Church. As I told you before, many of us, we are religious, and our religion is Orthodox. We are Orthodox Christians. The Eastern Orthodox Church is the second largest Christian church, with approximately like 220 million baptized members. So the Christianization of Kievan Rus dates from the year of 1988, when Vladimir the Great was baptized and proceeded to baptize his family and people in Kiev. It's like, you know, the modern capital of Kiev. Russians, and mostly seniors, they are religious. And you can find many icons at home, even in the cars or in bags. So lady seniors, or babushki, as we call it here, they often pray every day. So Orthodox churches, they look bright and extremely rich, probably. So the domes are mostly vivid gold, and on the top is the Russian cross. It's like an 8-pointed Christian cross. It's like a symbol of the Russian Orthodox Church. So, and would you like to talk about Orthodox, just a little conversation about the Orthodox rites or customs? The first is baptism. It's just a Christian rite of admission and adoption, almost invariably with the use of water into Christianity. It may be performed by just sprinkling or pouring water on the head, or by just like immersing in water, either partially or even completely. Here you can see how is the baby, he is going to be baptized. And Epiphany bathing, or also Orthodox baptism, is a folk tradition that exists in Russia, Ukraine, and other Orthodox countries. It's associated with dipping or bathing on January 19 on the Orthodox feast of the Epiphany in a nice hole or in open reservoirs. So even in Samara, or I think in every Russian city or village, during the January 19th, you have to see plenty of people who are just diving, and you have to dive for 3 times, and then you have to cross yourself. Then Easter, like the great day, the most significant and important holiday in the calendar of Eastern and Western Slavic people. So in Orthodox religion, the status of Easter is the main holiday, is reflected in the words like the feast of all holidays, or like the celebration of the whole celebrations. So the church celebration of Easter continues for 40 days in Orthodox religion. Orthodox Christmas. As you may know, Orthodox people, we celebrate Christmas from the night of 6th January to the 7th January. It's not 24 December to 25th December, yes, because we have another calendar. So Orthodox Christmas is a Christian holiday associated with the memory of the birth of Jesus. Simple like in Protestant or in Catholic and so on. So it's approved according to the date of celebration adopted in the Russian Orthodox Church. So it's celebrated, as I said, on January 7th according to the Gregorian calendar. Christmas, mainly in modern Russia, is just like a religious holiday and has no established generally accepted secular traditions. We mainly celebrate New Year's Eve from the 31st of December to the 1st of January. So it's like more important for every Russian, I don't know why, but Christmas is not mainly important for us. So here you can see that during the night from the 6th to the 7th, so federal TV channels, they broadcast the festive Christmas service. So it's like Great Compline, Matins, liturgy, and so on. Then Russian Orthodox Church again, or also the Grains Lent or the Great Feast. It's also one of the most important fasting season in the church year of the Eastern Orthodox Church. So well, now I hope that you know a little bit more about Russian people and especially Russian religion, yes, in particular Russian Orthodox Church. So it's time probably to go further, and we will come to the main square of Samara city. It's called Kuybyshev Square. And also, I would like to remind you that you are pleased to ask any questions in our WhatsApp chat. Feel free to whatever you want. I think we will at least try to answer, and I hope that we will fully answer all of your questions. So I think it's time to continue our excursion. So 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Okay, back to the religion. So as I've told you, Samara region is a center of many religions, and there are lots of Muslims in our region. They are mostly the nationalities, Asian nationalities, as historically Samara is a fortress, was founded in a place just in a boundary between the European and the Asian part of our country. And there are lots of Muslim people. When our central mosque was constructed in the beginning of the 21st century, so not very long ago, it was the largest mosque in Europe. But few years passed, the mosque in Kazan, a neighborhood city, was constructed. The mosque Kul Sharif was constructed. Today it is the largest European mosque. But our mosque is also still one of the largest in Europe, not only in our country, but in Europe. Now we've come to Kuybyshev Square. So Valerian Kuybyshev was a revolutionary who was the leader of the Communist Party in Samara. And in 1917, he was the first man who told our people that the regime in our country had changed. So after his death, in 1935, his name was given to the city, and up till 1991, Samara was named Kuybyshev. That is Kuybyshev Square. In the middle of it, you can see a monument to Valerian Kuybyshev, to that revolutionary. Behind the monument, there is a building of our opera and ballet house. But before the October Revolution, that square was called Cathedral Square due to the largest Orthodox cathedral, which stood here in the place of the opera and ballet house. It was the largest cathedral of Samara. Unfortunately, again, during the 30s of the 20th century, the cathedral was destroyed, the cathedral was ruined, as it was thought in the country that there must not be any religion and there must not be any God for people except the leader of the country. So the leader of the party, the leader of the country was like a god for our people. After 1991, Orthodox religion was returned to the people, and our Orthodox churches, our Orthodox cathedral are being built nowadays. They are being rebuilt in the historical places when they were, where they stood before 1917, before the 30s of the 20th century, when they were destroyed. But it was decided not to ruin the opera and ballet house because the history has a little bit changed. And today, this square is called not Cathedral Square, but it is called Kuybyshev Square. It is the central square for all the events in our city. For example, we celebrate our Victory Day on the 9th of May every year. There is a great military parade in this square when people can come and watch the best armors, the best tanks, guns, and so on and so forth. But there is also one event in our history when during World War II, in the very beginning of that war for our country, you know that World War II started in 1939, but for the Soviet Union, for our country, it started only in 1941. So in 1941, when the Hitler's army came very close to the capital of our country, to Moscow, only in 3 cities of Russia, in Moscow, in Voronezh, and in Kuybyshev, military parades were held in November of 1941. During the Soviet period, in November, we celebrated the October Revolution. Quite a tricky thing, but it is because of the changing of the calendar when the October Revolution happened on the 25th of October, but when the calendar changed, then it became the 7th of November. So during the Soviet period, we celebrated the anniversary of the October Revolution on the 7th of November. So in 1941, only in 3 towns of our country such military parades were held, and today we are celebrating that event, that our city, even during World War II, had a military parade. And here you can see some kind of an exhibition of different armors which took part in that very parade. So we can come closer. So in front of us, there are 2 howitzers of the period of World War II, which took part in World War II. They were constructed in our country up till the very beginning of World War II, up till 1941. And to the left is a howitzer which was constructed up to 1955 in our country for our army. Then a very famous, one of the symbols of World War II, of our army of that period, is a car which is called GAZ. GAZ stands for Gorkovsky Automobile Plant, as Gorky was the city where these cars were produced. So such cars were widely used during World War II by our troops. So to move from one place to the other, such cars were used. And one more gun, again from the period of World War II. Such guns were produced up till 1945, just up till the end of World War II. So such armored, such cars really took part in the parade of 1941, in November of 1941, in our country. It must be said that the role our city played during World War II is really great. Practically, Kuibyshev became the second capital of the Soviet Union. The government of our country, all the diplomatic missions, all the ambassadors were moved from Moscow, the capital of the country, to Kuibyshev because the Hitler's army came very close to the capital. So a decision was taken to evacuate the government, to evacuate the diplomatic embassies from Moscow to Kuibyshev. And our city became the political center of the Soviet Union. Besides, it became the industrial center because lots of plants and factories from the western part of our country, which were occupied by the Hitler's army, they were also evacuated to our city. And among them, there was Voronezh aircraft plant, which produced low-flying attack planes Il-2. Il stands for Illusion. And behind me, a very unique item. It is a real aircraft. It is really hard to imagine that it is an aircraft, it is an airplane, but it is what is left from the airplane which took part in the battles of World War II. And on the 30th of April 1942, that plane was destroyed by the enemy. It fell down into the swamps of Russia, and only 68 years after World War II, that plane was found. And now our people can come here and see the real plane, what is left from it, which took part in World War II.
So guys, please don't forget to be more active on our websites, on our chat. So please don't be shy. Go yourself, and please you can write questions, and we will be really pleased to answer on them. As we already know, every country was really having a really bad and really terrified time when it was the Second World War. But right now I'm going to briefly tell you information about the beginning of the Second World War. As we already know, when on June 22 in 1941, the Germans invaded the USSR, attacked Moscow, and our city was chosen as one of the evacuating centers. A huge number of industrial enterprises arrived in summer of 1941. And here, in autumn, the government a lot of important and really important structures were transport into the Kuibyshev. Actually, it's kind of really interesting fact to know that our city Samara was not forever known as Samara. As you mentioned, I tell that the city was Kuibyshev because the name of Samara, it gave only in 1991. So, as you can see, as I already mentioned, actually, the Kuibyshev was chosen as an evacuation center, not by chance. So the city is actually located at the intersection of highways, which were really important in that terrifying and in that really bad time. And it was really far away from the front line, so it wasn't really close to that. Even before the war, it was a major industry centers were still in Kuybushov. So it also, Kuybushov became the reserve capital of the USSR, as I mentioned earlier. So, actually, as I have been mentioned a lot of industrial enterprises from Moscow, Leningrad, Kiev, Voronezh, and other cities arrived here. The Voronezh aircraft factory was among from them, and behind me, like you can see, one of the most famous aircraft Il-2. Actually, as I know, it's one of the most famous planes ever. And it was actually really powerful, and it was kind of the boom. It was kind of really great opening in the Second War. Actually, so as I mentioned earlier, the Stalin, the leader of our country during this really hard period, decided so that this is the MBA capital. Actually, in our city, we have kind of the bunker, and you will see it further. But right now, we're going to talk about this really bad time about the war. So this bunker is actually was built for evacuation, and for evacuation, important people like the governments, like the party, the central committee of the party, the entire diplomatic corps, and so please don't forget that Kuybushov was chosen as the second, as the security capital. So the next, also this photo shows you the really dramatic and really like terrified emotions from back that time. But however, our Soviet people had really a great opportunity, and our soldiers, our veterans, they probably never give up. And so on this picture, you can see the parade, fragment of the parade of November 7th in 1941. That autumn, actually, there were only 3 such parades. So first was in Moscow, Voronezh, and Kuybushov, so like Samara. The goal of the parade was achieved. Foreign headlines were full of power of the Soviet Union. So basically, this parade show that we have strength, that we don't afraid of enemy, and that we are actually a really powerful country, and that even at that bad times, we're still looking to the great, to the shine future. Actually, so here you can see another fragment, another photo from the parade, the 7th. And so there you can see the Soviet soldiers. So the really important date in our history, in the history of all our country, is the Victory Day. So it's celebrated on the 9th of May in order to anniversary of victory of the Second World War. All country respects veteran. In Russia, there are a lot of movies, books, monuments, songs about war, about what terrified, about what dangerous and really harmful was the time. During the war, 27 million of Soviet people died to defend the world, and there are no family in Russia without person who took part in. Actually, my family wasn't My family isn't like the example. My family is example also because like I have both grandfathers who were going to the war. Hopefully they are alive, and they told me a lot interesting and a lot really scary things about the war. But we are going further, and we are going to talk. So also the Victory Day, we have a lot of monuments. We have really great, memorable things to tell about our future generation about this really bad, and I hope that that will never be again like any war, hopefully. So the next important thing that I would like to tell you is Immortal Regiment. Actually, the Immortal Regiment is a massive civil event staged in major cities in Russia and around the world every 9th May during the Victory Day celebration. So what is this? This is kind of the non-profit organization when like every people take a photo from the relative who was involved in the war, and they are going through the Kubyshev Square or from other squares to just like memorialize the memory, the proud that in that family had a veteran. And also this is the really interesting thing that like, for example, if you don't have a veteran in your family, you can take photo and you can walk with your family friend, the relatives whose relatives were involved in war. So right now, let's just talk a little bit more about the person who was leader of the state in this really hard period. So, Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union. He was born on 18th December in 1978 in Georgia, in the Russian Empire, to a poor family. In 1901, he joined the Social Democratic Labour Party. He impressed the party leader Vladimir Lenin and his ability to organize meetings and strikes. Around this time, Stalin, as you probably know, wasn't his real name. His real name was Jugashvili. But in that time, he picked up this kind of the nickname because Stalin in Russia means a man of steel. So it's really strong and unbreakable kind of the person. So Lenin died in 1924 and Stalin became the next leader. So he kind of continued the policy of the Lenin. In the late 1920s, Stalin would aid to turn the Soviet Union into the modernized industrialist country, and kind of he achieved this. So, like in that time, in that particular time, our country, the Soviet Union, basically like such production as coal, oil, steel, electricity massively increased. Stalin was the leader and the person who led the country to victory of the Second World War. And actually that's not the kind of mistake because of this name, as I mentioned, in our city, in our Kubyshev, there is the Stalin bunker. So actually, it's not. We don't have the real information was Stalin in Kubyshev or not. But the fact that we have Stalin bunker is the 100% information. So. Actually, as I already mentioned, this bunker was for all governments, for all participants, for people who were close with Stalin, so like the leaders of any participants, for any parties, and so even if for example, if enemy came to Samara, to Kubyshev, they can kind of hide and they can go to the bunker. Actually, we had excursion, and we have to the next part of our tour, and maybe we will see the Stalin bunker. So it will be really great opportunity to see it closer. So please enjoy yourself.
1941. The Germans, the Hitler's army, came very close to Moscow, to the capital of our country, and the decision was taken to evacuate the government from Moscow to Kuibyshev. Our city was chosen for several reasons. The first one, as it was very well protected by the Volga River. The Volga is about 2 kilometers wide near our city, so it's really difficult to cross it. Besides that, up till now, there is no bridge over the Volga River. And the second reason was that our city had a very good railway connection with all the parts of the former Soviet Union. So the government was evacuated to Kuibyshev, and it was working in that very building from 1941 up till 1943. And as the construction was a top secret, nobody knew about it up till 1991. Only in 1991, when the documents about the construction became non-secret, we were really surprised to see such a unique construction just under us in the city center. Today, this bunker is one of the most popular museums of our city. It must be said that the bunker was constructed not for living. It was constructed to be used only in case of emergency, in case of gas attack or in case of bombing. So there are no bedrooms there. There are only rooms as the working places for the members of the government, Stalin's room, and the largest room for the meetings of the government. And no bedrooms, no kitchens. So only for the members of the government to work during bombing. And again, it must be said that this bunker, it wasn't used at all, as our city had a perfect air protection around it, so there were no bombs in our city during World War II. It was finished and it was closed, and everybody forgot about it up till 1991. This bunker is said to be the deepest bunker of the period of World War II in the world. It was the second popular place in our city during FIFA Football World Cup in 2018. Our people really appreciate that fact that Samara was chosen as a host city for some of the football matches of FIFA Football World Cup 2018, because due to that fact, Samara changed a lot. The roads were reconstructed, all the historical buildings were reconstructed in our city center, a new stadium was constructed. So today Samara looks really very, very pretty due to that great sport event which took place in our city 2 years ago. Okay, and now we're going to see the square near which the bunker is situated. The entrance to the bunker is really hidden, as it was a secret construction, so it's really difficult up till now to find it, as it's not a front door into the building, it is somewhere back in the yard. But the bunker is, to my mind, it is the coziest place, the smallest, but at the same time the coziest place of Samara. Today it is called Chipaev Square. In the middle of the square, you can see the monument to Vasily Chipaev. He was an officer of the Red Army during the Civil War, which took place in our country after the October Revolution of 1917. There was the war against a civil war against the Red Army, who supported the new regime, and against the White Army, which supported monarchy. So Chipaev was one of the leading officers of the Red Army, And here he is practically himself. So the figure of Chipaev riding a horse, and he is surrounded by the real participants of the civil war, a peasant, a worker, a sailor, a woman. So real people who took part in the civil war in our country, which lasted for nearly 5 years, from 1917 up till 1922. But before the October Revolution, that square was known as Theatrical Square due to the building of the drama theater. It must be said that Samara was a great trade center up till 1917. It was sometimes even called Russian Chicago due to its rapid economic growing, or Volga New Orleans, as our city gave about our region gave about 20% of all the cereal exported from Russia to Europe. So our merchants were quite rich, and fortunately they invested their money into the city structure. So that building of our drama theater was built on the money gathered by our merchants. When they gathered enough sum of money, they gave it to a Moscow architect with the words, build in any way you wish, but the theater in Samara must be Russian. So the architect chose the architectural style which was typical to the Moscow architecture of the 17th century. The building of the drama theater was built in 1888, so it is the 19th century, but it must be said that in such houses our Tsars lived in the 16th century, in the 17th century, so it's a typical Russian architecture. Under the towers, you can see the symbol of our region. It's a mountain goat. But again, there is a joke that when the fortress of Samara was founded, the symbol of the fortress was a female mountain goat with little horns. The goats of such kind really lived in the Zhiguli Mountains. But when our Tsar, Fyodor Ivanovich, he was the son of Ivan the Terrible, of one of the most known Russian Tsars. So his son, Fyodor Ivanovich, who was the Tsar at that period, when he saw that symbol, that mountain goat with little horns, he said that won't do, because such animal could not frighten the enemies. And the horns of the goat grew up. It became a male goat, but the goats of such kind never lived in the Zhiguli Mountains. Today, our people have found some kind of a compromise. So a mountain goat with long horns, a male one, is the symbol of Samara region. A mountain goat with little horns, a female one, is the symbol of Samara city. So that is the symbol of our region. Okay, and one more Orthodox complex. It's a monastery, an Orthodox one. Fortunately, it survived during the Soviet period. Some of the buildings of the complex survived. Now they are under reconstruction. Some of them have been already reconstructed, and it is a working Orthodox monastery nowadays. Okay, and what else to be seen here? There is a beautiful garden also behind the building of the drama theater. It must be said that Samara is a very green city, but mostly all the trees are planted to protect our city center from summer's dust. Okay, now we are going to continue our trip.
So hey there again, and thanks to Helen for such an impressive speech. And now we're just a little bit flying, yes, and now we will be able to see the view of Samara city from the sky. So here you can see the drama theater named after famous Russian writer Maxim Gorky. It was built in 1888. It's a neo-Russian style. And the basis of theater building consists of two forward-facing towers with hipped roofs and so on. So yeah, there is just a view. You can see how the Samara city, the architecture of Samara city. Also you see the Kubyshev Square behind me. Yeah, this is the scenery of Samara city, actually during the winter time, because unfortunately due to the weather conditions we are not able to just walk in, because it's like heavy snowing outside. It's like -1 degrees and everything is covered by snow. It was a huge storm for 2 nights probably, so there is no even chance to walk. So this is Pushkin Square, and it is located on the behind of the drama theater. Alexander Pushkin was a Russian poet, playwright, and novelist of the Romantic era, who is considered by many Russians and even people to be the greatest Russian poet and the founder of modern Russian literature. He lived in the beginning of the 11th, he lived in the beginning of 19th century. So Pushkin was unfortunately fatally wounded in a duel with his brother-in-law in 1837. So he was only 38 years. His famous works are poem Yevgeny Onegin, the novel The Captain's Daughter, the poems Boris Godunov, Ruslan and Ludmila, and so on. So this square was founded in 1899, and from the viewpoint of the square you can enjoy views of the Strukovsky garden and so on. No. So yeah, see here it is. Here is the viewpoint of Samara city. So what can we see on this video right now? You can see the architecture of Samara city, and also you can see the Zhiguli brewery. Yes, we have our own brewery. It was built in 1880 till 1911. So the architect was Mr. Schlecht, and the architectural style is brick eclecticism. Here you also can see the drama theater. And as you know, Samara city is located on the Volga River. It's the biggest actually river in European part of Russia, and actually it's the longest river in Europe in general. So it's flowing through the central Russia to the southern Russia into the Caspian Sea, and has the length like 3,500 kilometers. So yes, you can see behind me, you can see the Volga River. During the winter time, it's totally frozen. It's covered by ice and snow. And during the summertime, we can swim in the Volga River. The temperature is like +20, +22 Celsius degrees. And during the winter time, we can just cross the river and appear on another bank, on the like a kind of another coast of the river. So here we're just walking around the Frunze streets, and actually Frunze, he was also one of like the main character of the Russian Civil War. And yeah, you can see that there is plenty of wooden buildings that are separated with like brick buildings. And we just switched off the light, and also you can see the Samara during the night time. Yes, and we are coming closer to the Chapaev's monument. That is where we started our excursion. This monument was built in 1932, and this monument is the first multi-figure monument in the history of the general Soviet sculpture. Chapaev, this is the surname of this man, this monument according to, he was a participant of the First World War and the Russian Civil War in 1917 till 1923. He was the head of a division of the Red Army. So this square and all these things, they're totally close to the Pushkin Square, and of course to the Kuybushев Square, the main square of Russia. And during the night time, you can see how many lights are there. Yes, it's like a magic atmosphere. You can see the Iversky Monastery, yes, and you can see the Volga River, totally covered by snow and ice. And Iversky Monastery, like the church, the chapel that you can see, it is the Orthodox church, one of the main monastery in Samara, and also the city of Taliati. It was actually a women's religious community in like the middle of the 19th century, and still there we have the monastery from that kind of times. There is a brewery, drama theater, the Pushkin Square, and Iversky Monastery. So yes, it was like a brief introduction to the main architectural sightseeings of Samara city. And we will continue our walking. We will drive actually from drama theater to the next, probably one of the main important, probably the most important sightseeing of Samara city, the Soyuz rocket. But now just enjoy a little bit of trip.
Так, начинаем, да? Ага. So we continue our tour by car now, and we are moving towards that monastery. To be exact, it's a convent, a female monastery, so-called. But in Russia, there is no the difference in the name between the male and female monasteries. So it's a religious place, a complex of buildings where religious people live and work. And to the left a little bit, that beautiful garden in the back of the drama theater. There is a small garden which has the name of Alexander Pushkin, and down to the Volga, there is the oldest park of Samara. And next to it, a complex of red buildings. It is one of the oldest breweries of Russia. It was founded by an Austrian man, von Vakana, who came from Austria. He came to Samara in 1880 and started his brewery business in our city. Von Vakana was a Lutheran by birth, but he took our Orthodox religion. He became a citizen of the Russian Empire, and he started his brewery business up till now. Zhigulyovskaya beer, as it is called, that kind of beer, is known all over Russia. It is one of the most famous kinds of Russian beer. Von Vakana was called a German spy during World War I. He was sent away from our country, but his brewery still works and still produces that beer, a very popular place, especially among the young students of our universities. Many universities have their departments not far from that place, and after their lectures, students sometimes go down to the river and taste our Zhigulyovskaya beer. Next to the brewery, that grey complex of buildings with chimneys, it is the oldest power station of Samara. Initially, it used coal and it produced electricity, but nowadays it is a gas one, and it gives hot water for the central heating of our city. It must be said that people can't survive without central heating in Russia. Winters are really severe sometimes, last for 5 or 6 months, and without several central heating, it would be very, very cold in our flats. But we are happy to have central heating, and thanks to the power station, it gives hot water for the central heating of that part of Samara, of the old historical center. It must be said that historically, Samara as a fortress was founded in the place where the river Samara flows into the Volga River. And these two rivers, they became like two natural boundaries for our city. And through its history, Samara has been growing only in one direction, up the Volga River. And our historical center is not the geographical center of the city. Practically, it is the boundary of our city, the boundary of Samara. So hello to a small traffic jam before the traffic lights. For Samara, it's not an urgent problem, must be said, due to the FIFA Football World Cup of 2018. Many our roads were reconstructed, and nowadays traffic jams still not as urgent as it used to be, a very urgent problem for our city before 2018. Nowadays, the situation is better, fortunately, but again, traffic jams is a typical problem for our city as for any great industrial city in the world. Today, Samara is, first of all, the industrial center. We've seen Glory Square with the monument to a worker holding wings above his head as the symbol of the aircraft industry. And practically, now you can see it to the right. So the view to the square from the Volga River. Practically, it is the symbol of all the industries of our region, because chemical industry gives fuel for the aircrafts, for the space rockets. Metal industry gives metal. So many industries are represented in our city, in our region. Besides, the largest automobile plant of Russia is also located in Samara region, in the town of Tольятти. It's not far from Samara, after Vas. So famous Russian Lada cars are produced in our region. To the left, we are passing the embankment, the Volga embankment of our city. It is said to be one of the most beautiful embankments of all the Volga towns and cities. It stretches for nearly 5 kilometers along the whole city center, the old center of Samara. Our embankment is a part of the botanic garden, so that's why there's lots of plants here, which are typical not only to our climatic zone, but which were brought from other parts of our country, from the southern, from the northern parts of Russia. In summer, for example, you can even see palm trees in the Volga embankment. And it must be said that the embankment is a very popular place among our people, especially in summer, because along the embankment there are fine sand beaches. Straight ahead, that tall building of steel and glass is the central office of the largest Russian oil and gas company, Rosneft. Our region is lucky to have oil and gas, and where there is oil, where there is gas, there is always money. The level of living, the average level of living, of salary in Samara is a little bit higher than the average in the Russian Federation. Samara is a great industrial center with oil, with gas, so lots of working places. Next to the office of Rosneft, there is an entertainment complex. It is an example of how the territories of plants and factories, which worked during the Soviet period of our history, but in 1991, when the government stopped its financial support, because all the plants and factories in the Soviet Union, they were financed by the government. And in 1991, when the government stopped its financial support, most of the plants and factories were closed, unfortunately, and that very plant, it was turned into a great entertainment center with cafes, restaurants, bowling, fitness centers, swimming pools, karting, so everything you need to spend your free time. Again, next to the entertainment center is one more part of our embankment. In the middle of it, there is a white sail of a boat, which looks like a Viking ship, a Viking boat. In Russia, it is called ladya. It is one of the symbols of Samara. The boats of such kind sailed along the Volga River in the period where the fortress of Samara was founded. A new cathedral in front of us it is Sophia Cathedral. Their leader, the ruler of our Orthodox Church of the Russian Federation, Kirill, came here last year and opened that cathedral. He took part in the opening ceremony of the cathedral. And now we are driving towards the tallest monument of our city. After World War II, the base of our aircraft industry, there was the start of the space program in our country. And the first rocket, which took Yuri Gagarin into space, many parts of it were produced in Samara, were produced in Kuibyshev. And after his flight in 1961, on the 12th of April, 1961, Yuri Gagarin flew into space. He landed in a neighborhood region of Saratov, but after his flight, he was taken straight not to Moscow, but he was taken to Samara. And for nearly 2 days, he was resting in our city after his flight. And the first place he was taken to was the plant where the rocket was produced. The first place he went to was that plant. He went there to say thanks to the workers, thanks to the engineers, which made that dream of space investigation come true. So he went to the plant to say thanks to the workers that they made it possible, that they made his flight possible. This rocket, it's a real space rocket. It's not a model, it's a real one. This is not Vostok, which took Yuri Gagarin into space. That is Soyuz, another modification. Into space. That was used to train our cosmonauts, and when it became quite older, it was decided to put it as a monument in the streets of Samara. Today, we are the city of Russia which produces space engines for the space rockets. And practically all the space rockets which are produced in our country, they use space engines which are produced in Samara. So up till now, Samara is the space capital, the space center of our country. Due to that concentration of industries, so many plants and factories, most of them during the Soviet period worked for the army. So they produced armors for the army. And due to that fact, due to that concentration of military industries, Kuibyshev was a so-called closed city during the Soviet period. It meant that nobody from abroad, even from the Eastern European countries, from our friends, from Poland, for example, or they were not allowed to come to Kuibyshev. For example, our guides who worked as guides during the Soviet period, they told us that, for example, tourist boats, cruise boats which sailed along the Volga River with tourists from abroad, they passed our city at night so that nobody could notice that there is something, some city on the banks of the Volga River near that place. So a very secret city. Only in 1991, when the boundaries of Russia were opened and Kuibyshev was named Samara, today, anybody can come and visit our city. So I've been told that there are some questions. Most of them are about the traditional food of Russia. So it's really maybe a little bit difficult to answer this question because nowadays the cuisine of Russia is very close to the European one. Maybe Italian cuisine is very popular in Russia. Japanese cuisine is also very popular. But as for traditional Russian cuisine, so maybe the most popular part are the soups of different kind. I know that in the rest of the world, people don't eat so much soup. For example, the traditional Russian shi or borscht, like vegetable soup, but together with meat. Then Russian pancakes, which are called blini, are also very popular with different things which are pulled inside. So our pancakes can be eaten with sour cream, with jam, or with meat, for example. So pancakes of different kinds are popular in Russia. Maybe pelmeni, it's also like meat put into batter, are also very popular in Russia. So now our car has made a turning and we are coming closer to that tall monument, real space rocket. Sorry, one more question. Are there many World Heritage sites protected by UNESCO? As for UNESCO, especially the nature of our region is protected by UNESCO. Our natural reserve, our national park, Samarskaya Luka, is protected by UNESCO. As for historical, maybe of the meaning for our country, not UNESCO ones. Okay, now we are getting out of the car. And we are coming closer to that space rocket, Soyuz. It was constructed in the 70s of the 20th century. A real space rocket. Without fuel, it weighs about 30 tons. Together with the fuel inside, it's up to 300 tons. In the base for that monument, there is one of the most popular Samara museums. It is called Samara Cosmos. It is Samara Space Museum. Here you can see real, for example, satellites which have flown into space. There is also exhibition there which tells about the role our city played and is still playing in space investigation and our space investigation programs of our country. A very popular museum, a very popular place. Even today, it is a little bit cold outside, but still some people here in this square near the rocket. As for the working hours, the working day has already finished in Samara. So our people normally work from 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning up till 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So 8 hours working day. And engines which are produced in our city,
Hello, dear friends, and now we are standing near the rocket Soyuz. Now I just want to move to not cross me the rocket. Yes, it's a real rocket, as you can see, and Yelena told you, I think, a lot of information. And this monument appeared here from 2001, and I suggest you to enjoy the video and give some facts. Then I would like to make like a funny photo here. We will stop, I will go out, you can make a screenshot and maybe send in WhatsApp. It's like our activity. So you can see the type of rockets named R7 and the type of rockets is Soyuz. Number of launch this type of rocket into space is the same of the year like I founded for Jiguli Mount Brewery is 8081. Yes, how many times you can see the rocket here. What about the height of the rocket? Near 53 meters, and the weight of the rockets is 20 tons. I would like to mention that it's just one vertical appeared rocket in Europe. And yes, you can see the monument. I will tell about this person later. It is a Kozlov monument. Kozlov, one of the designer of the rocket. And you can see the Russian snow. Yes, you can try to touch it and make a snowman. By the way, do you like to make snowman? Please write in WhatsApp chat again. And yes, let's enjoy the video and wait, I will give you some information about person who is here. Yes, we come closer and I try to say you give some information about this person. So it is Dmitry Kozlov, who it is a Russian aerospace engineer who founded the Progress State Research and Production Rocket Space Center. Kozlov for the Nazis in the Second World War, losing his arm, and he worked under Sergei Korolev. I think now you know about Sergei Korolev, and I will tell you later, and was judge of the design of the R7 muscles. Yes, you can see R7. And as the leader of the designer of the intercontinental ballistic missiles, Kozlov was awarded at the Lenin Prize. The Lenin Prize, one of the main prize in the Soviet period, and also he was named a hero of socialist revolution on 2 occasions. He headed the department of the aircraft, is one of the leading university of the country. Let's guess what is it? Yes, in Samara University. The previous name of Samara University was Samara State Aerospace University, and he was the leader of the department. And under the scientific guidance, Kozlov, a galaxy of talented scientists in the field rocket and space technology, a related fields has grown. So I think now we can stop our video and try to make photo. Okay, you can do the same as me, stand like this one, but I will go from our video and give you opportunity to make a screenshot. Who knows, maybe on your phone you will have new picture of Rocket Soyuz. Yes, drink tea and remember Russia. So I return. Hello, hello, don't miss me, dear friends. And let's, okay, our technical helper suggests me to do again, to try to say hello. Do you watch cartoon Garfield? If you do it, I think you remember the episode when Garfield stayed near the pizza. I do the same with our rocket. So let's continue and enjoy the view of our rocket. I will go to other strait to give you opportunity to see the monument and tell you some information where it's located. It's located maybe 15 minutes from university. It's not so far, and located on the, yes, Prospect Lenina. As you know, we have a lot of objects, streets, monuments, and some other kind of activities which named during the Lenin. Yes, in order Lenin. Now you can see the tram, rocket, and yes, you can try to compare the size of the rocket with the size of the house. And let's wait a couple of minutes because we will see the beautiful graffiti. It's located under the rocket. Maybe we will see the next. And the graffiti looks like the girl. She makes a photo of the rocket. And you can see in the glass of the photo, you can see the beautiful picture of the rocket. Yes, again, a rocket. Maybe you can try to make like a 3D model of these rockets, but let's enjoy the view again. When you see snow, I would like to tell you that today there are more snow than you can see on the video. We have maybe, if forecast well, we have half of normal January size of the snow. And yes, now we continue. I will take clicker and continue to speak about person who make a great contribution to our space industry. But before we start, please look at this beautiful picture. Yes, it's made from a lot of people. I don't know how many people here. And this is symbolize that anniversary of the first space flight man. And who was the first person on the flight? Yes, sure, the answer under my head. I think I should stay maybe this one too. Between two Yuri Gagarin and Make-A-Wish. Have you ever heard that in Russia, if you stay in person have the same name, you should make a wish? So let's continue talk interesting facts, not just my strange information. Yuri Gagarin was the first man launched to the space, and it was on the 12th April of 1961. He was born on March 19th in 1934, and Yuri joined the Soviet Army Force in 1955, and by the 1958 he was trained to become a cosmonaut. In 1960, Gagarin was selected along the 90s other candidates for the Vostok 1 program. Eventually, the program was narrowed down to the possible candidates, and Gagarin and German Titov both had excellent performance in their training, and they are short enough to fit in Vostok cockpit. And Yuri Gagarin age was 27, and he was the first human who see the space and who see the Earth from other side, not like we usually saw. And cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was helped into the space by spacesuit and made his way to the launch pad. He climbed into the Vostok spacecraft, and then he said his, in Russian, "Поехали." If you translate in English, it's "let's go." And the rocket blasted off into the space, and 10 minutes the Vostok spacecraft separated from the launch rocket. Gagarin was in space, and he has orbited Earth from 108 minutes during the flight. Because the Vostok spacecraft has no engines to slow down, it's recently upon landing Gagarin had to effect out to the parachute to the Earth. He landed safety near the Volga River. By the way, near the Volga River. Do you remember that Samara stayed on the Volga River? And after this activity, after this, I think, hero event, Gagarin made a national hero of the Soviet Union, and he, like a global celebrity, who you, I think, also know. And now let's talk about the main people in aerospace engine and this help of our research into the man to the space. Yes, let's start with Sergei Korolev. Sergei Korolev was a Soviet leader who created a lot of spacecraft and who was like an engineer and spacecraft designer during the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union in middle 50s and 60s of the previous century. And also you can see, I would like to tell you that you can see the monument. This monument located on the territory of our university. Why? Because our university named after Sergei Korolev. Yes, Samara National Research University named after Korolev. So, Korolev is regarded by many of the father of the practical astronautics. He was involved in the development of the rocket R7. You saw a lot of video from R7 previous time. And also Korolev was designed on the Sputnik 1, the first satellite which launched to the space in the 1937, and launched Laika and the first human, Yuri Gagarin, as I told you before. Dmitry Kozlov, you saw his monument near the Samara Space Museum and near the rocket, I've told you before. And also, yes, you can see the Buran. Buran is the real rocket which located near our university, and Buran means small snowstorm. It was the first space plane to be produced as a part of the Soviet-Russian Buran program. And besides describing the first Operation Soviet-Russian shuttle orbiter, Buran was also the designer of the Soviet Enter-Russian space plane project and its orbiton, which is then known as Buran class orbiters. Yes, you can see this picture also near the Samara University. Now we're located in the next building of this. And I think each student has a picture of Buran, or maybe near Buran, doing like this one or that one. It's like a tradition to take photo with Buran. So what else we have in our university? We have Samara University Aerospace Museum, but we will give you some information about this later. Why? Because remember that on the 7th of February we will have, yes, Space Stream, and you will know what is it. Also, maybe you've heard that Samara has a lot of graffiti, a lot of murals, not just in space topic, but now we talk space, and I would like to show you just some space murals. We also have others, for example, for World Cup or maybe other events. Please Google and find. So you can see the Gagarin, you can see the Kozlov, and what is it? Yes, maybe you remember, I will go here. Maybe you remember I told you about this graffiti because, yes, I think now you understand where I located this house in front of the rocket, and it looks like girl make a real photo of the rocket. Come to Samara and you will make the same photo too. So, dear friends, now I'm waiting for my colleagues, for my friends, and we are more than happy to say you thank you. So, we are here. If you have questions, you can do it in WhatsApp at any time. And thank you for watching us.
Yes, we really appreciate for being with us during this excursion around Samara city, and we truly believe that you enjoyed this city too. So tomorrow we also are going to have a cultural program. So we will walk around the historical city center of Samara city, and it will be an honor to tell you more interesting facts about Samara city. So probably see you tomorrow, and thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Пока-пока.